So it's Tuesday. I didn't do much gardening actually on Monday, but what I did do was I put the shade sail up in the conservatory. I absolutely love it when I do that because the conservatory's kind of been getting really hot during the day, and when I have my nap in the afternoon it's just a bit too hot for me, and the shade sail makes all the difference. But I leave it off as long as possible because I want the plants to get as much light as possible, and obviously the shade sail reduces that. But now, as we're coming into April, there's plenty of light. The plants don't really need much more, and they actually benefit from the temperature being moderated a little bit. I also noticed the first flowers coming on my cucumbers, and I put the strings in for my cucumbers and trained the cucumbers along those strings. So I just really look forward to those first cucumbers because I've not eaten any since October or something like that. Talking of first flowers, what I also noticed when I came to the allotment today is that the plum tree, which has never flowered for me, and last year I was kind of complaining, like, I've had this plum tree for 4 years and it's not flowered, and it's flowered, and I absolutely love plums. As I mentioned before, I grew up with a big orchard. We just had an ordinary little house, semi-detached house, but it had this massive orchard, and I've never properly understood why. But anyway, it had 50 odd trees in it, and quite a few of those were plums. And I just, summer and plums just go together for me. I just absolutely love them, and I don't like buying them from the shops, so it's basically bartering for them on the allotment is my only source of plums. And I've got a friend who brings me some that he finds on cycle rides and things as well, so I do have a few. But now I might have an abundance of plums. We've got quite a few new plum trees on the allotment, various different varieties, blue ones and got Victoria and things like that, so we'll see how that goes. So it's just, I'm so happy to see those first blossoms. Today I wanted to get my potatoes planted, and so I popped those in, and these are my second early potatoes grown as an early main crop, and I've done a video specifically all about that, so I won't go into the details of that here, but I will show you that I've just got those planted, and I'm really happy with them all, although the Estima, which are the ones that are a bit leggy, they are a little bit leggy, but they'll cope. But as I was doing that bed, I was also clearing and replanting what was a radish bed as an onion bed, and it's right next to the potato bed, and I ended up putting the potatoes in that bed, and then I'd put twice as much bloodfish and bone in as I do for the onions, but I had to move them anyway. That was a real pain, and obviously I've got all that extra bloodfish and bone, so now I've got 2 onion beds adjacent to each other, and one has got what I consider the right amount of bloodfish and bone, and one has got twice as much. So that will be an interesting experiment now to see how onions respond to loads and loads of bloodfish and bone meal. I've now got 365, let's say, onions in the ground, and I don't know how many shallots, but probably 100 or so shallots as well. So that is pretty good. That is basically Debbie and I's onions done. We've just got to do the ones for friends now. So everything from now on, and family, sorry, is a bonus. So that's a nice place to be in. I mentioned that I picked the last of the carrots. So that means now we've got just these carrots, which I've just cleaned up, and 1 container full of carrots that are stored in moist compost. And so hopefully they will last us through until May now. I've also finished harvesting all of the potatoes that I sowed back in April. All I've got now are the so-called Christmas potatoes, which I sowed in July, I think. And the potatoes that I've just harvested, they look really nice. I'm really pleased with them. And they should last us for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll just have a couple of weeks, probably more. And so we'll be running out of potatoes towards the end of April. Not exactly sure when, depends on how many we eat. And then we'll start harvesting the ones that are behind me here. So I've also done a massive clear out of our storage shed, because we're coming to the end of the kind of storage period of gardening, and we're transitioning into the period where everything that we eat is fresh. So that's always a good time to get the old vacuum out and rationalise everything. So that's all ready for next year. And I've also cleared up the drive, and this year I'm growing or I'm planning to grow, I think, all of my potatoes on the drive. They won't get as much sun as they got in the back garden, but what I found actually last year was that the ones that grew on the drive that got quite a bit of shade during the day, but still plenty of full sun, they did better than the ones in the garden that got much more sun. So it seems that potatoes, they quite like the heat that they get in that sheltered location, and they quite like the fact that they're only getting, you know, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours of sunlight a day, and the rest is partial shade. So I look forward to trying that out, because it's a lot more convenient for us to just have them on the drive. It's a lot easier to water them as well, because we've got a downpipe on the drive, and I've just installed a big dip tank, and that means that with one full dip tank I can water all the potatoes and all the trees on the drive really quickly and efficiently, and it's really easy to refill that dip tank either from bath water or from rainwater. So despite crushing my calf last week, I did manage one hike this week, and it was a pretty nice one. And we did actually, while we were out there, we managed to see a deer, and I actually managed to get a shot of a deer. Now I know a lot of people are not very interested in deer because they're a pest and just cause loads of problems in the garden. But round here we have no deer issues at all, and hardly ever see them. So it's really nice to get to see one running along by the side of the path next to us. And on Friday, it was a kind of major change around day on the allotment. So there's a kind of theme of tidying up and cleaning up and everything this week. On the allotment, it was all about moving all the covers around. So I moved all the low tunnels into their sort of final resting place or close to it. So their final resting place really for summer is over the pepper beds. So that's where almost all of them are, or adjacent to that. I moved one onto the strawberry bed, but it'll move off the strawberry bed when it's time for the peppers. And yeah, that meant I could move mesh tunnels where the low tunnels had been, the plastic tunnels, and that means that all those beds are now getting more fresh air, more rainwater, and they'll just thrive because weather is fairly mild in April, and things like cauliflowers and calabrese and the like, they don't really need polythene covers now that they're well hardened off and they're nice big and well established plants. And then finally I moved all of my brassica seedlings, not very big at the moment, down to the allotment, and they're in the polytunnel on the grow bench there, and that is where they will stay until about the 10th of May. And I almost always plant my tomatoes out after the 10th of May, so nothing kind of conflicts with each other in terms of its requirements in the polytunnel. So they're all looking really nice. They're just about the right size now, as I say, they're about that sort of size, and so they've got about another month to go in the polytunnel, by which time they'll be this sort of size. And I find they just get off really well when you leave them then. That isn't actually our last frost date, the 10th of May. Our last frost date tends to be about the middle of May. I don't worry about that at all, because brassicas are fine. They'll stand the odd light frost, but I don't want them getting any hard frosts. And May is just a nicer time for them to grow, and they always seem to do better for me left that a little bit longer. I know some people get good results planting brassicas out in April, just not for me. So now just have a quick look at the harvest and then we're done. So here's today's main table. I'll shoot their salads in a second. And yeah, I gotta say, I'm pretty fussy with this one. It's really lovely. So we've got, this is the penultimate harvest of carrots. Field beans, still plenty of those across the back there. We've run out of garlic now, apart from pickled, so we're on to green garlic. A little bits of asparagus. That is all the main crop potatoes now, so we're finished with main crop potatoes. And all we have now are new potatoes until the end of April. And then we'll have our early main crop potatoes. And then we've got just a few onions. We've got loads of onions left in store, a few beetroot, chard, all the mixed brassicas. I'm particularly pleased with these Kaylan, which make a lovely cabbage leaf, and yeah, just loads of mixed brassicas, all sorts of different types. And then all of these here down the centre, these are all the pak choys, well, Asian greens, all sorts of different Asian greens, and very happy with those. They are such a nice bonus harvest that we weren't expecting, or we weren't guaranteed to get. So we've got alliums down here, so these are baby leeks, celery and salad onions. And what have we got then? So then these are all of the flowering brassicas. So purple sprouting broccoli, calabrese, welcome Asian greens, and sort of mixed brassica flowers. So some of these are off green curly kale, for example. Some are off colettes. Absolutely, I'm in love with those. They are gorgeous. And then we've got spinach, still loads and loads of spinach, but notably the first of the new season spinach. I only picked that quite lightly this week, so I've only got a couple of boxes of that. Parsley and salad carrots and a few radishes, and then the main radishes, and those are the best radishes of the year so far. Really fussy with those. So that is a pretty good table. Really happy with that. So here's the salad bench. And particularly, as I've already said, I think, particularly pleased with the radishes this week. Running short now on salad carrots, but we might just make it to the New Year's supply. Very happy with all of that. So hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.